Tonight, breaking news. The FBI now investigating a potential assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump.
We have somebody in custody right now.
It happened at Trump's West Palm Beach Golf Club. The Secret Service engaging the suspect, the former president, safe and back at Mar-a-Lago. Campaign extremes. The Proud Boys show up in Springfield, Ohio. New fallout after the Republican ticket ramps up the rhetoric and unsubstantiated claims about immigrants.
We're not mad at Haitian migrants for wanting to have a better life. We're angry at Kamala Harris for letting this happen.
As early voting begins this week in several states.
I'm Scott McFarland in Gaithersburg, Maryland, where they are processing mail ahead of the 2024 elections and mail-in ballots. Coming up, why Washington officials want you to know more about the long history of voting by mail.
Also tonight, a Houthi missile hits Israel and another close call in Gaza. Plus, splashdown for Polaris Dawn.
And there you can see. Welcome back to planet Earth, Polaris Dawn.
A SpaceX crew returns safely to Earth. And later, in the market for a used car, we've got a ride for you.
I'm Carter Evans, and we're riding in a 1933 Duesenberg, fully restored, worth $40 million. Let's go on a burger run. It's coming up.
This is the CBS Weekend News from New York with Jerika Duncan.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us on this Sunday. We begin with some breaking news. Tonight, the FBI is investigating a possible assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. It happened just before 2 p.m. Eastern while Trump was playing golf on his course in West Palm Beach, Florida. The former president was not injured after a Secret Service agent fired shots at a man they spotted near the course with a rifle barrel sticking out of the fence. Trump was rushed away from the scene, later returning to his Mar-a-Lago residence. The suspected gunman fled, and a man was later taken into custody after a chase. A high-powered AK-47 style rifle with a scope was later recovered at the scene. In a statement, Trump said, quote, "There were gunshots in my vicinity," adding that he is safe and well. CBS's Manuel Bojorquez is in West Palm Beach, Florida for us tonight. Manny, good evening.
Jerika, good evening. Tonight, multiple law enforcement officials have identified the suspect as Ryan Wesley Routh, a man in his late 50s who, according to police, did not resist arrest when he was taken into custody after what unfolded this afternoon.
Former President Donald Trump is safe and unharmed.
The Secret Service spotted a man with a rifle along the fence at Trump International Golf Club just after 1:30 this afternoon. The suspect was armed with an AK-47 style rifle and a scope, about 300 to 500 yards away from the former president. Investigators say he also had a GoPro camera and backpacks containing ceramic tile. Secret Service agents fired at least 4 shots at the suspect, but it's unclear whether that person fired back. A witness saw a man running out of the bushes and jump into a black SUV. That witness took a photo of the suspect's car and license plate. About 30 minutes north of the golf club, police stopped an SUV with the same license plate number. Police took the witness up there to confirm they had the right person.
The Secret Service did exactly what they should have done.
Police say the suspect is in custody tonight as they work to find a motive. Trump had returned to Florida this weekend from a West Coast swing that included a Friday night rally in Las Vegas and a Utah fundraiser. Roughly 2 months ago, Trump was shot during an assassination attempt at a rally in Pennsylvania, and a bullet grazed his ear.
The White House says both President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the Democratic presidential nominee, have been briefed on the situation here in Florida and will receive updates as the investigation continues. Jerika?
Manuel, thank you. Now to the campaign trail and new fallout in Springfield, Ohio. It has been the target of extremist threats, and now it's attracting extremists, including the Proud Boys. CBS's Skylar Henry is covering all the angles for us tonight. Skylar?
Hey, Jerika, good to see you as always. Yeah, those threats ramped up significantly following last week's debate as local Republican officials as well as Democrats condemn the rhetoric. These two campaigns are barreling towards Election Day, and they're leading into their policy proposals and their bases.
Donald Trump and his extremist allies intend to take our nation backward.
Vice President Kamala Harris slammed her political opponent at a gala in Washington Saturday night. She joined President Biden on stage, where she also spoke about protecting health care access.
They will give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations, cut Social Security and Medicare, and end the Affordable Care Act.
Her tone follows the Republican presidential ticket, amplifying baseless rumors about Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, many of whom are in the U.S. legally with temporary protected status and even green cards.
They're eating the dogs.
The city has been thrust into the national conversation on immigration. With unsubstantiated claims, immigrants are eating pets.
I don't know what happened with the bomb threats.
While campaigning in battleground Nevada, former President Trump commented on the escalating threats facing Springfield, forcing everything from schools to City Hall to shutter.
Do you regret your words?
Well, Margaret, first of all, we condemn all violence and condemn all threats of violence.
Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, said on Face the Nation Sunday those behind the threats should be prosecuted, though he also defended spreading the debunked claims.
People are frustrated with the national media attention. Some people are also grateful that finally someone is paying attention to what's going on. You're never going to get this stuff perfect.
Now, we don't expect to see former President Trump on the trail again until Tuesday, where he'll host a town hall in Michigan. Both he and Vice President Harris plan on hitting several battleground states this week. Jerika.
Skylar Henry at the White House, thank you. Tonight, an American pastor who had been jailed in China since 2006 is free. David Lin was serving a life sentence for what the U.S. government says were bogus charges of contract fraud. Lin's daughter tells Politico, quote, "No words can express the joy we have," adding, "We have a lot of time to make up for." Lin is now in San Antonio, Texas. Venezuela's authoritarian government says it has detained 6 people, including 3 Americans, in an alleged plot to assassinate President Nicolas Maduro. The arrests come weeks after a disputed presidential election that has plunged Venezuela into crisis. The State Department has confirmed that one of the Americans is a member of the U.S. Navy. It also categorically denied a U.S. plot to overthrow Maduro. To the Middle East now, where today the Iran-backed Houthi militia claimed responsibility for firing a missile from Yemen into Israel. The group also threatened more attacks. No injuries were reported. Now, there have been thousands of airstrikes in Gaza, and tonight CBS's Elizabeth Palmer takes us inside a close call for our colleague Marwan Al-Ghul, who's been reporting from Gaza since the start of the war.
Good evening. Marwan and I are only about 50 miles apart, but we may as well be on different planets. He can't get out of Gaza and I can't get in, so we spoke on the phone. Marwan Al-Ghul's extended family, 12 adults displaced by the war, and 12 kids lived together in a rented house.
Dozens of injuries, no enough ambulances.
Marwan's reported for CBS for more than 20 years. On Friday night, he sent us a video of a family sing-along to take the kids' minds off the war. What was your first warning that something bad was about to happen?
I heard some noise outside of the house. I went out, I saw lots of people running away.
Neighbors told him the Israeli military had called twice to warn they were about to hit an area around a mosque several streets away. In fact, it was only 50 yards. You can hear Marwan here behind the camera asking, "Is everyone okay?" Physically, they were. But this is lasting trauma.
Thanks God that we are alive, we are breathing. It was awful moments for us.
In the morning, they could see the missile crater, but still don't know what or who was targeted.
Big damage, shrapnels everywhere.
What have you told the children to reassure them?
What I always tell them, I'm sure that it will be end soon.
The end of the war soon? That's a white lie to comfort the children. From our man in Gaza who risks his life every day to tell the truth. Jerika, the Israeli military has since said that that missile was targeting what they called
terrorist infrastructure.
Elizabeth Palmer and Marwan Al-Ghul, thank you for your reporting. Tonight, a break in the heat is helping crews battle wildfires raging out west. Firefighters have made significant progress on 3 of the largest wildfires burning in Southern California. And improving weather for the wildfire fight means cooling temperatures, including, believe it or not, snow for some areas. Let's check back in with CBS News meteorologist Andrew Kozak. Andrew?
Yeah, good evening, Jerika. And this week versus last week is so much better for Southern California. Sure, we are still going to be dealing with wind advisories and some fire danger out there. But as we head into the next couple of days, we're certainly going to see an improvement with cooler temperatures, a chance of showers for Monday. San Bernardino, showers and temperatures maybe not even out of the low 70s. And while wind is going to be an issue this week, it will be certainly lighter than it was last week. Meantime, to the north, Yosemite National Park over toward Mammoth Lakes. Through Monday, we have a winter weather advisory. Temperatures in the 20s and 30s, 1 to 3 inches of snow. So we're going to be dealing with that as we head into the new week ahead. Showers for the 4 corner states, hot across Texas. And for the East Coast, a developing area of low pressure would bring 1 to 3 inches of rain from the Carolinas to New York. Jerika?
All right, Andrew, thank you. A groundbreaking commercial mission to space known as Polaris Dawn ended early today with a splashdown off the coast of Florida.
And there you can see.
Tech billionaire Jared Isaacman and 3 crewmates plunged back to Earth near Key West, Florida. It was an historic 5-day mission, including the first ever private spacewalk, and as you see right there, the first violin performance from space. And I like that. Used to play the violin. Straight ahead on the CBS Weekend News, sorting out the history of mail-in voting, plus a big birthday bonus for Prince Harry. And we take a ride back in time to one of the best museums in the country that you've never heard of. The first votes of campaign 2024 could be cast in several states this week thanks to mail-in ballots. Well, a new exhibit explores the history of mail-in voting, and it turns out the practice has been around a lot longer than you might think. CBS's Scott McFarland explains.
Mail-in voting surged in popularity during the pandemic. Then it was the subject of baseless conspiracy theories and false claims of fraud by some critics, including former President Donald Trump and his supporters.
We have to be very careful with the ballots. The ballots, that's a whole big scam.
But mail-in voting has only grown in popularity, and it will be used again this year. Voting this way is hardly new or revolutionary. It's older than many of the states that use it. Inside the Smithsonian's National Postal Museum in Washington this month, they're delivering some of that history.
What should people know about the history of this?
That it's been around so long with very little, working pretty well and with very little incidents.
With this new election year exhibit, including an envelope used to carry votes by Civil War soldiers who voted remotely in their hometown elections, and a 100-year-old photo of then President Calvin Coolidge and the First Lady filling out their 1924 election ballot from a desk positioned outside the White House. And this blank ballot sent to World War II troops to vote from the war front. Troops had to write in the names of their preferred choice.
This is a pretty powerful image here.
And voting in World War II internment camps. Oregon launched a local vote-by-mail-only election in the 1980s.
State election officials this month warned of the risk of late deliveries or some ballots being returned undeliverable because of the high volume of those being processed. But CBS News contributor and election law expert David Becker says teaching the history of mail-in ballots helps counter baseless claims of fraud in the mail.
Prior to 2020, there was consensus that this is a great option for voters who chose to vote that way, that it made managing elections easier for election officials because it meant some or all wouldn't be showing up at the polls. There would be shorter lines.
The Postal Service processed 105 million ballots in the 2022 election, sending them through facilities like this one. But they emphasize that's just a small percentage of the overall mail processed in any given year. Scott McFarland, CBS News, Gaithersburg, Maryland.
Good to know. Still ahead on the CBS Weekend News, it's TV's biggest night with the Emmy Awards being handed out in Hollywood. like Shogun and The Bear are expected to clean up at tonight's Emmy Awards. CBS's Elise Preston has the breakdown.
Netflix leads all networks with 107 nominations, including Best Drama for the final season of The Crown.
What do people want from you?
For you to be mother to the nation.
The Bear, last year's comedy winner, has 23 nominations.
What if I wanted to open a restaurant?
Helping FX earn 93 nominations. FX also scored big with its 17th century Japanese period drama Shogun, which leads with a historic 25 nominations, including Best Drama. Emmy powerhouse HBO finished third for the first time since 1996, but still has 91 nominations, including Outstanding Limited Series for True Detective Night Country.
No coasters. They want you to respect the law, but the law doesn't respect wood.
Larry David's farewell season of HBO's Curb Your Enthusiasm is the funny man's last chance to win an Emmy for Best Comedy Actor in Series for this show. And Happy Days are here again with a reunion of Ron Howard and Henry Winkler to mark the TV sitcom's 50th anniversary. The Emmys will also celebrate Saturday Night Live, turning the big 5-0.
Well, isn't that special?
Father and son comedy duo Eugene and Dan Levy are this year's hosts. Producers hope the pair will help boost ratings, which have struggled for years. Elise Preston, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Next on the CBS Weekend News, the game plan for the future of Miami Dolphins quarterback. Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa reportedly has no plans to retire. Sources also told the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport that Tua is scheduled to meet with a neurologist this week. He sustained a concussion during Thursday night's game after he collided with Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin. It's Tua's fourth diagnosed concussion in just 5 years. Well, today, Prince Harry is celebrating his 40th birthday with a possible olive branch and a big bonus. For the first time in 3 years, the royal family shared a public birthday greeting to Harry on social media. His estranged brother, Prince William, even shared the post. Harry received an $8.5 million payout from a trust set up by his late great-grandmother. When we come back, a vintage car collection showcasing some of the finest vehicles ever to roll. Finally tonight, new numbers show the cost of a new car is falling, but used doesn't come cheap, and classic can be priceless. Here's CBS's Carter Evans.
Just love looking at people's expressions when we drive by.
It is fun.
You could call it a $40 million burger run.
Have a wonderful day.
All right. Because that's how much this pristine, one-of-a-kind 1933 Duesenberg is worth.
I would be terrified to drive it.
Yeah, I'm not exactly comfortable right now, but we had to pull out the big guns for you.
Cameron Richards is vice president and curator of the Nethercutt Museum, one of the finest car collections in the world that most people have never heard of. J.B. Nethercutt amassed a fortune helping his aunt, Merle Norman, start her successful cosmetics company. In 1956, he began buying the cars he dreamed of as a kid. His collection got so big, he built this 5-story building in North Los Angeles to house it, and eventually another gallery across the street. It's like walking through time.
It is definitely a walk through automotive history.
The museum is a living love letter to the time of the Great Motor Coach, and an example of how the Great Depression decimated the American auto industry. Nearly all of these car makers did not survive. They don't make them like this anymore.
Absolutely not.
But not everything is extinct. The museum has more than a dozen 16-cylinder Cadillacs, along with some very exotic offerings.
This is a 1931 Bugatti Type 51 Dubo Coupe. It's the only one of its kind ever built.
And this Benz precedes the Model T. When you walk through here, do you feel your dad's presence?
Well, yeah, it always reminds me of him, yeah.
Jack Nethercutt, JB's son, said his father never pursued publicity. This was initially just for family and friends.
One of the best kept secrets in Los Angeles.
But nearly 2 decades after his death, the family is now eager to show off his collection. You want people to see this.
We want them. That's what it's for. I mean, you know, with everybody pushing to go electric, you know, the old gasoline car, I mean, they're not going to be around for much longer.
But the Nethercutt collection may be. The cars here still run. And the family's determined to keep each of these rolling works of art on the road. Carter Evans, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Well, that is the CBS Weekend News for this Sunday. Coming up tonight, the 57th season premiere of 60 Minutes. Cecilia Vega witnesses an international incident in the South China Sea. For now, I'm Jerika Duncan in New York. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.